Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So, in Kashmir Shaivism, we have the understanding and the experience that the enjoyment of God for the creation is a form of what's called rasa. Rasa has many meanings in Sanskrit. The basic meaning is taste, but it relates to aesthetic appreciation, appreciating the artistry of something. The word taste, of course, we say someone has good taste in something. We mean that they have a good aesthetic sense, or at least that we agree with their aesthetic sense. So this idea of rasa is absolutely crucial to understanding this tradition, that God is tasting all of the creation, and that the experience of ananda, of bliss, clarity, there is no word that translates into ananda in English, but you could sort of say it as like bliss hyphen clarity, but that the blissfulness and the clarity is also related to aesthetic appreciation. There's an intense clarity about everything in the creation. Even if you're having a cloudy experience, from the perspective of God, you are an intensely clear experience of cloudiness. And then there's this idea of being in a state of divine enjoyment. That's what Ananda really means, divine enjoyment. Doesn't mean blissed out or tranced out or blobbed out or any of those outs. It means wide awake and in a state of profound enjoyment. And that enjoyment is aesthetic enjoyment. The kind of enjoyment you might get a taste of if you go to a really incredible music concert and you just beside yourself with enjoying the beauty of the music, or you see a painting, or you go to, you read a beautiful paragraph in a book. It's not the gross excitement, if you go to like a concert where everything's really loud and there's a kind of excitement about that, right? Just the gross intensity of it. But this aesthetic enjoyment is very subtle. It's really appreciating everything about the creation. This idea of appreciation, of rasa, of tasting the aesthetic value of things and appreciating it, is central to having good relationships with other people, to having dharmic relationships with other people. The sex and relationships teaching is coming up the 20th and 21st of June, and in that I talk about the wisdom virtues of relating. What are the wisdom virtues we need to embody in order to have good relationships? And one of them is appreciation, this aesthetic appreciation of another person. When we stand in front of a painting, or we listen to a beautiful concert, or any really great, fine, precise work of art, finely expressive, we are not sitting there, relating to that work of art like, here's what I need from you. I'm sorry, Beethoven, you just aren't fulfilling my needs. You have to step up. I'm really angry at you, painting, because you aren't what I expected you to be. I came into this museum thinking you were going to be this and you're that, and I'm really mad. There's a kind of non-neediness There's an absolute non-neediness about aesthetic appreciation, about appreciation in relationships. Everything in your relationship with others, whether it's friends or lovers or even just the person next door, right? It's all about getting what you want or organizing your life into the shape that you want it to be. Right? Or having the kind of relationship you want. Do you ever ask somebody who's in a marriage or a love relationship, so what do you like about the other person? Well, I really like the way they make me feel. Danger, red flag, sirens, emergency. If that's the first thing that comes to your mind, that what you like about the other person is something, how they make you feel, you are in trouble. That is a non-appreciative, non-aesthetic, narcissistic way of relating to other people. And then sometimes, I always do this with, especially my younger students. Actually, I haven't done it in a while. I should start doing this again. And then I'll say, no, but tell me something about this person that you're dating. Just tell me anything about them. Well, she's pretty, and she's fun to be with. There's often times we're in relationships with people we hardly see and don't know. We get into them in a whirlwind of fixation based on our needs and desires, looking to the other person and in fact demanding that the other person satisfy those needs and desires, and fighting eventually tooth and claw after we get through the projections that that's going to happen. If we stay together through the projection phase, then we start demanding that the other person fulfill our needs and desires. And that's what we call a relationship. And it is utterly gross. That is utterly gross. And if you're in that kind of a relationship, you're not really relating to another person. You're relating to you. You're relating to somebody as if they were just there to serve your karmic fixations. So they don't really even exist for you. A person can even say, I love you, and still not be relating to you. If there is no or very little aspect of just pure appreciation in a relationship, then no matter what that person says they feel about you, it is about them. This is just the bottom line. If we're going to be having dharmic relationships and treating other people in a wholesome way, then we are going to have appreciation for them. We are going to look at them. We're going to examine them. We're going to study them. We're going to contemplate them. We're going to meditate on them as them, not as you. Right? You're going to be appreciating how that other person is, even when you're not there. It's a good thing to ask yourself, would my partner exist if I weren't there? For a lot of people, the answer is no. Right? You can't even imagine what they're thinking or feeling, or how they are, or even maybe what they care about, or maybe for some people, even what they like to do. I mean, there's, of course, degrees of this, but actually the basis for the relationship should not be love, or what anybody calls love. It should be appreciation of all of the wisdom virtues that I'm going to talk about in the teaching, whenever it is, in 2 weeks. That is the most important, appreciation. It's what God is doing with this entire creation, is appreciating it. So you have to have this distance in the sense that you're not making any demand on the person. We can tell other people what we want. That's part of a relationship too. But I'm not talking about that right now, so I'm just setting that aside. There has to be, though, a layer of the relationship that's more fundamental than what we need from the other person. More fundamental. And that layer is appreciation. It's more fundamental because if you really appreciate somebody, and when we appreciate something, it's not just, I appreciate you. It's, I actually have taken the time and the interest and I have the curiosity to actually look at you the way that, and experience you the way I would experience a piece of music or a novel or a painting or something like that. It's not just some bland, oh yeah, I appreciate you, yada, 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 next, me, myself, and I. So that is more fundamental because if the person cannot be there for you in the way you want them to, or needs to do something else that makes you feel sad in order to really express themselves fully, or maybe even needs to leave you, if that layer of appreciation is there, you will feel sad, but you will understand why that's happening and you will still appreciate them. Appreciation lasts much longer than love, or what we call love, what most people call love. Appreciation is forever, really. You can appreciate someone that threw you aside until the day you die. You can still appreciate them for who they are. In the best possible case, you would get involved with somebody because you appreciate them, not because you have some burning passion for them. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with burning passion, but if there is no appreciation, it is vacuous. It's pointless and worthless. If there is no appreciation, then you are simply running your fixation on somebody else. And then you have a very ordinary life, and you probably won't survive other than as a friends or a couple. If you do not have appreciation, you're either going to crash and burn, or you're going to stick together, clawing at each other, trying to get your needs met, and damaging your own life and the life of the other person. There has to be appreciation as the basis. And that appreciation is what is called disinterested. It absolutely makes no demands on the other person. You know that when you look at a work of art, you can't order it to be other than it is. You just have to take it as it comes. Right? You don't go approach a work of art with the idea that you're going to improve on, Da Vinci or something. I just think that stroke in the Mona Lisa should have been over here. Even if a painting is really bad in some respect, you still don't feel like you have the right to move things around in it, right? You understand that it is something complete in and of itself, even if it's just a paint on velvet piece of crap, and that it has its own integrity as whatever it is. So, if you meet someone that you can't appreciate because you don't like the way that they're painted or composed, you just don't be with them, but you don't stick around trying to demand anything out of them either. But that's what most of us do. We don't have a solid basis for our relationships in appreciation. And it's all about demands. My comfort, my satisfaction, my goals, what I think my life should look like, what I think my partner should be like, what you need to be to validate my existence. It becomes all about that rather than having any solid foundation. And then there's really nothing there. It ends. When it ends, it's actually completely over because there's no appreciation. So the appreciation is fundamental. And if you think of it, when you are with another person, you are tasting them. You are in their presence. They are giving off a lot of flavors. And they have lots of different states of their energy. And part of getting to know people is that experience of rasa. When you encounter a poem, for instance, you often don't understand a poem, a good poem. You don't often understand it right away. You get some sense of it. Maybe something hits you very powerfully. A good poem unfolds over a long period of time, right? You have to keep coming back to it and tasting it and seeing how deep into it you can get. Why do you do that? Because you appreciate it. You appreciate what it's talking about, what its flavor is, how it's put together. This is how we have to approach each other. That's what appreciation is. It takes place over a long period of time, but you have to be capable of stepping outside of your narcissistic way of relating to people in order to even get to step one of appreciation. Appreciation is completely without any manipulation or demands or seduction. It's not about you. It's basically your fascination with the other, how they are. And if we are not appreciated in that way, then there's no basis for whatever relationship we're in with somebody. We have been sold a truckload of bullshit about relationships in this culture, and most of us have bought that truckload with our lives. There's very little understanding about what makes a real Dharmic kind of relationship. One where people aren't hurting each other, one where kindness can be maintained in all circumstances. But if you are in relationships where you do not feel appreciated, where you are not appreciated for who you are, when I say not appreciated for who you are, I do not mean that the other person has to buy your whole story about you. Because often that's just a load of fixation too. I'm talking about that the other person doesn't actually enjoy you in that sense of art, of enjoying art. Right? If you are not being enjoyed for you, not just as some sort of scratching post for the other person, then leave, get out, whether it's a friendship or whatever. So in any relationship, you have to feel for that. Am I really being appreciated here? Not my story about myself, but just are the people enjoying me? The people that I'm with. And you can feel that even without a story. Right? Are they enjoying me just apart from anything they might need from me? Not something you can sense. It can have words, but it doesn't need words. Right. It often happens in a wordless way, appreciation. I have a very old friend. We've known each other how old am I? 26 years. We're 27 years soon. And when we hang out, sometimes we just sit there and stare at each other. We don't say anything. And then we'll start talking again, but we just look at each other. We just appreciate each other. You couldn't really say what we were appreciating, but we're just doing that, right? And nothing really needs to be said about that. She's enjoying me, I'm enjoying her, and that's it. Right? It's not about a story. You can feel when you're really being appreciated and when you're not. And you should take the time to notice if you're being appreciated. Because if you're not being appreciated, you should not be there. That's the basis of everything. I'm going to stop there. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.